Okay, the last course we discussed the bar element formulation. We formulated the bar element from the principle of virtual displacement. So this is the basis of our formulation, right? Today, we will begin with a brief review regarding the temperature effects and also the overall formulation of the bar element. And then the main focus of today's lecture is on the application of the bar element. Well, suppose now there is no mechanical loads. Let's say there is no force, okay, but on the boundary and along the bar, only temperature change 3 degrees Celsius. And then let's say the bar made from materials with alpha. Alpha is the quotient of thermal expansion per degree Celsius. Let's say that the bar, as usual, made from homogeneous materials and prismatic. Okay, it means the alpha and also E, modulus of elasticity, constants, and crostal area constants along the bar. Okay, and let's say the temperature change also constants along the bar. So using the previous formulations, we can show that the equivalent nodal force, this is the equivalent nodal force due to temperature change, T, given by this formula. Okay, E, A, alpha T, this is factor minus 1, 1. This is equivalent nodal force on one element. Okay, how to prove this is easy. Okay, this is the situation, right? Our element has prismatic. It means these constants, also made from homogeneous material, E and alpha constants. Let's say the element length L undergoes constant temperature change. Of course, we can also compute for example, linearly distributed temperature or other distribution, but let's say this is the simplest case is this is for constant temperature change. Change, it means can be increasing or decreasing from the initial condition, from unstressed condition. Okay, we know that from the lecture of last week, this is the equivalent nodal force due to the temperature change, right? Given by this formula. So this is the details how we can obtain the previous one. Okay, so the equivalent nodal force, because all of these constants we can take out of integrals, and then what is B? B just this one, right? B transpose minus 1 over L, 1 over L, the factor of this, and then when we integrate, this is also constants we can take out, and then we integrate from 0 to L dx. The result is what? L, right? So becomes like this. Because L divided by L, minus 1, L divided by L1. Let's prove the previous statement. So we have this one, okay? Of course, the situation can be more complicated than a constant distribution. Let's say the temperature change varies along the bar. Let's say linearly distributed temperature. Well, we can prove that the equivalent nodal force is given by this formula. So the T1 here is the temperature at node 1. Let me sketch the situation. So this is our bar element. This is node 1. This is node 2, okay? Given the temperature change here is T1, temperature change is here is T2, okay? Like this, the linear distribution, straight line, okay? The graph. Then the equivalent nodal force due to this temperature change is by this one. Otherwise, we can write like this, okay? similar to this one. A alpha TL is the average of the temperature. So we can still use this format, but replace the constant T here with the average temperature at the nodes, right? Not the temperature. Or maybe we can also derive for more complicated situations, quadratic distribution of temperature. Okay, so like this, the temperature change. This is T1, this is T2. We have also here the 3 data, right? Because for quadratic distribution, we need 3 data. The temperature change at the middle, like this. So this is the graphs is parabola because this is quadratic function. And then we can prove that the equivalent nodal force is given by this one, okay? AE alpha over 6. So the influence of the temperature at the middle is quite big because it's 4, the others is 1, right? The proof of this you can see in my textbook, okay, in section 593. I wrote the proof, the computation of this there. But here I just write the results for brief. Well, any questions regarding this statement, equivalent nodal force? This is, we talk about equivalent nodal force, right? Due to temperature change. No? Okay. So let's proceed to the summary. What we did so far, okay? Actually, what we did so far, we are formulating the simplest bar element. It has 2 nodes. We begin with the principle of virtual displacement, this one, okay, for this bar, because this is 1 bar element, right? Actually, we have the problem of bar, and then we divide into several elements, and we consider a typical element. Let's say element number E, the bar length is LE, and then the bar subjected to distributed axial force Px, okay, distributed axial force Px, and then also to nodal force, because without this one, the bar may not be in balance. So this is a kind of balancing force that comes from the interaction with neighboring elements or neighboring nodes. This is structural nodes, okay? Neighboring elements or neighboring nodes. So this is balancing force. So the bar in the condition of static equilibrium, we can apply this principle, okay? And then how to create a finite element is just by approximating the displacement, okay? This is UH, it means approximate displacement, okay? That's using the shape function for node 1, the shape function for node 2. So this is multiplied to D1, this is multiplied to D2, right? And then we can write the equation in matrix format like this. This is shape function matrix, this is nodal displacement vector. If we draw the graphs, it's 1 and 0, right? That's Kronecker data property. And the summation of this 1, that's what? Partition with unity property, okay? That's the shape functions. Once we have this and this, that's actually enough. So this is a kind of recipe to create a finite element, okay? So if you want to create a finite element, you need a weak form, this one, and you need the approximation of the primary variable here. That's the displacement in this case, okay? So because others we can derive from the first one. It means well, what we need now? Strains. Okay, we need strains because we need stress before stress strains. How to compute the strains using the kinematic equations, right? So we have BD. This comes from the kinematic equations. Once we approximate the displacement, and then also similarly for how about the virtual displacement? In finite element formulation, standard finite element formulations, this is I think wrong misspelling. Okay, this is misspelling. So I should revise it. Okay. Well, this is the displacement. How about the approximation for the virtual displacement? In the finite element standard finite element formulation, we take the form of the approximate displacement delta U is the same form like this. But of course, this cannot be the same, right? If this is D1, it becomes D1. So this is called delta D1, another free variables. This is the noun function. This is the free variable. So just change the free variable to another free variables. Okay, other free variables. Let's say give the name delta D1, delta D2. Maybe we can interpret these variables as virtual nodal displacement. Okay, so this is N delta D. Okay, substituting this into this one, we obtain the thing that we want, the equation that we want. That's the discretized equation for each element, right? For this element, that's the stiffness matrix. This one, okay. Integrals of B transpose EBA dx. This is the balancing force here, FA1 and FA2. This is still announced. This is announced. FP we can compute from here, equivalent nodal force due to load. And this is the equivalent nodal force due to pressure change that we just discussed, right? So this is the discretized equation. This is the element equations for bar element, okay? What's the announce here? Can you give me answer? What's the announce in these equations? What's we know already? And which one is unknown? If we have a problem of bar and then we divide into several elements, what's the announce? Okay, I'm waiting your answer. The first one is, of course, this one, right? Second one, this one, announce. So how can we solve these equations? Because to solve this equation, we should know either this or this one. But this is, we have to announce. No, we cannot solve directly. So we assemble first the equations. After we assemble, we can interpret this as the force at the nodes, nodal force, direct nodal force, not direct nodal applied force, because of the equilibrium at the, recall that when we use the direct stiffness method to assemble, to form the stiffness equations for structures, the force at the nodes is being in balance with others, right, with other elements, and that's equal to the external force at the nodes. So that comes from when we derive the direct stiffness method, okay? So in details, if the bar is prismatic, made from homogeneous material, we have this stiffness matrix, okay? This is for prismatic. We also have discussed how about if bar not prismatic, the bar element, I mean. This is, I should emphasize that this is prismatic bar element, okay? And the temperature also constants, this one. And also if the force, distributed axial force is constants, we have this one, okay? For the others distributions, we also can compute the equivalent nodal force and temperature, the equivalent nodal temperature. So that's, we are ready to use this one, okay? We are ready to apply this to solve any bar problems. The question, so this is the focus of our lecture today regarding the applications of the bar element using the direct stiffness method, of course. So once we formulated the finite element, we can implement it using the direct stiffness method. But before proceeding to this topic, any questions regarding the formulation of governing equations? Any questions or not yet? Please give me answer to make sure that our connection, internet connection is okay.
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Good. Okay. It's maybe not easy to understand at this moment because this is new. I know for all of you because you are just taking finite element, but that's the standard finite element formulation is like that. As I mentioned before, that there is an alternative way, not use the principle of virtual displacement, that use the principle of minimum total potential energy. That's another way, another method to formulate the element, but the results is exactly the same. So I don't have to spend time on the other methods, right? Just choose one method. Okay, so let's imagine we have a bar problem. A bar problem, it means we have bar under some actions. The action consists of loadings and mechanical loadings and temperature change. And then if we want to solve using finite element, as usual, we divide the bar into several elements. Don't have to be equal lengths. You can divide up to you. Okay, arbitrary. You may have equal or unequal length. Is okay. Okay. And then what next? We should compute this one, right, for each element. Stiffness matrix equations. It means we should compute the stiffness matrix for each element from element 1 up to the total number element in the structure, NEL, right? We should compute this one and compute this one as well for each element. Of course, we cannot compute this one, right? Because this is announced. This is announced, still announced. What we can compute this, and this for each element. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and so on until finish. Next, after we compute this one, we can use either DSMP or this DSMA, up to you. Okay, it's free to choose. To obtain the stiffness equations, of course, we know that in the DSMP, the stiffness matrix here is complete. A big matrix, right? Including the inactive degrees freedom. The stiffness matrix here is different. Actually, this is KAA, right? The stiffness matrix involving only active degrees freedom. When we use the SMP, the right-hand side is FA. That's applied nodal force and also the spot reactions at the same time. Announced spot reactions. This is the announced. But this we know. Okay, so we know this. We know this. Some part of this is announced. Some part is given. Oh no. This we know. This the unknown part. Of course, we know this one. We know this one. So we can solve for this by separating into active and inactive degrees freedom and so on. That's the standard way, right? You know already. But in the DSMA, we don't need to separate because this is already DA, right? Active, and then this is the applied nodal force. If there is some prescribed displacement, it means the spot moves. We should compute also the equivalent nodal force due to the spot motion, okay, or the spot displacement. And then this is the same, I think, but only involving active degrees freedom. And then we solve, and then we get displacement, right? Once we get displacement, we can go back to each element, and then we can compute this one. So because this is now we already know, right? Already know, we can compute for this one. That's the direct method. Okay, let's begin by the first example. The simplest example, right? Well, this is the prismatic bar, let's fix free, and then the length is L, subjected to, this is P at the right end, and also constants. Let's say this is constants now, okay? Constants P, and then it's constants, all constants, T. So in this problem, I made the problem as simple as possible, all constants, okay? We have solved this, right, using analytical methods, using calculus. But here we use finite element. To use finite element, we divide into separate elements. How many elements? In here, assume that we use 4 bar elements. Okay, so we use 4 bar element like this. Up to you, you want to use how many elements, but here in my example, I use 4 elements, okay? So if the total length is actually not L, but LT, to distinguish with the element length, okay? This is LT. Of course, its element length is LT by 4, okay? A quarter of LT is its length of the element, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, as usual, we define the nodes. The nodes is where the location where we define the degrees freedom. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only active degrees freedom because I choose to use the SMA because I will calculate manually. Okay, I think the SMA is more efficient, so I choose this. As usual, we should write connection between local numbering and global numbering because for each element, you know, we have local numbering as well. Okay, so this is for element number 1. We have D1 for element number 1 and also have D2 for element number 1. Okay, D2 for element number 1. So the connection between local numbering and global numbering given by this. For element number 1, it's 0 because this is inactive, right? This is inactive because connected to fixed. This is connected to 1, so it's 1. Similarly, for other elements, you know already, right? It's now easy for you, right? Element 2, 1, 2. Element 3, 3, 4, 2, 3. Element 4, 3, 4. Okay, this is called the matrix of, I call it M-code, right? Actually, just like connection between global and local degrees freedom numbering for each element. Okay, the next step, we should compute the stiffness matrix for each element, for element number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because the element has the same properties, A, okay, the corresponding area, E, and also the same length, so we can just compute one time. The stiffness matrix for each element is this one, right? AE divided by LT, but divided by this one, okay? LT over 4, or this is equals to 4AE over LT, okay? Any questions up to this point? Stiffness matrix. This is applicable for element 1 to 4. The effect of the distributed load is computed in here. So we use this formula because this is constants, right? Oh, for constants, we know that the formula is just divide by 2. Okay, so this is 1 and 1. Actually, the formula is PL divided by 2, right? But this is the length is LT by 4. So PLT divided by 8. PLT over 8. Okay. 1, 1. That's the nodal displacement factor. What does it mean actually? Actually, this means that in the finite element computation process, in the discrete model, this we have actually this one, right? In the continuum model, P, constants. And then in the finite element model, this is the length is, for each element is LT over 4. In the finite element computation, we convert this distributed load to become nodal loads. the value of the nodal loads, the other magnitude is PLT by 8. Also, this is the same. PLT by 8. That's the meaning. Okay, the meaning of it. So we convert this to this one. Okay, that's the meaning. This is also applicable for all elements because the same length. Okay, the same length. All this has the same length. All elements in this problem. Of course, if there is some variation of the element, you should compute for each element. How about the effect temperature? Because the temperature change constants, we can just compute using this formula. Okay, -1 applicable for all elements. Up to this point, any questions? This is the computation, but what which we should do at the element level before assembly. Okay, before we perform assembling process. No questions? Okay. Is it difficult? So the next is just assembling process as governed by the information from the MCOT matrix. Okay. So the result is this one, the stiffness matrix 4x4. Why? Because we have 4 degrees freedom. And then we also assemble not only the stiffness matrix, but assemble, it means we add together. Okay. We add at the appropriate place as indicated by MCOT for the equivalent nodal force. We obtain this one. Okay. Equivalent nodal force for assembled. This is corresponding to node 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Not I mean 2 degrees freedom 1, 2, 3, and 4. And also due to temperature, this one. We assemble the equivalent nodal force here. Okay. So all of this we should assemble to obtain this one. So finally we have these equations. This is the stiffness matrix K. This is the capital D, the nodal force vector. This is the force FA, right? That's because we have P here. So this is at degrees freedom number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And then this is comes from this one. Okay. This is transpose. This is transpose. Okay. Come from that one. Okay. So this is our stiffness matrix equation for the structure at the structure level. Okay, this is we have the data. This also we have the data, so we can solve it to obtain the displacement. So this is the effect of the end loading here, P. This is the effect of the distributed load here. This is the effect of the temperature here. Okay, we can solve it one by one. Okay, due to this effect, due to this effect, due to this effect, and then we just do superposition or summation of all of the effects, because this is linear problem. Okay, for linear problem we have the principle of superposition. Well, so we have already the primary announced that the displacement. The next step, of course, not only this we want, but what? The stress, right? Or the normal force distribution. So next, from the global displacement, we return to local. Local, it means for each element, right? This is the structural displacement to each element using the MCOT, of course. So this is the for element 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the effect of the end loads here, P, capital P. This is the effect of the distributed axial load. This is the effect of temperature change for each element. After this, what? We can compute, for example, well, how about the displacement? We know this is the answer already. Okay. We know this one, this one, this one, this one from the finite element computation before. But if I want to know the displacement here from the finite element, what should we do? Interpolation, right? Because we know that the displacement at any point on each element, so this is, for example, this one on element 2, okay, is the shape function on element 2, of course. Actually, the shape function is equal for all elements, right? The formula is given by this one, right? Because all elements have the same length, so the shape function of all elements remain the same like this. This is the shape functions d1 and d2. We already know d1, d2, okay, from here for each element. So we can calculate the displacement at any point. Okay, so this is the displacement field. So displacement field is a function representing the displacement at any point. Any question? If someone asks, how about the stress? The stress is just what? The stress field. The stress field, it means the stress as function of displacement. Sigma equals B E epsilon, but what is epsilon? B D, right? So we know already this one for its element E 1, 2, 3. So we can calculate the stress for its element. This is E, this is B. Okay, B matrix for its element. How about the normal force? This is not shape function. This is normal force. Sorry for the same symbol, but this is not. This is the shape function. This is normal force, right? Or axial force. The axial force just sigma times what? Area. So this is just times area. Just this one times the area. This is due to the pressure effect. This is due to the yes. This is due to the pressure effect. This is due to other loadings. So that's all. Any question? So this is the answer. We can compute the displacement, stress, and normal force at any point with the element using the standard finite element procedure. So this is called the standard finite element procedure. Why I call standard? Because later we can modify. Okay. Later, but up to this point, if you have any questions from the simple example. This is very simple, right? Simple problem. The most simplest one, the simplest one. It's interesting. Well, we have the exact solution for this one before, right? When I talk about governing equation for bar, I give this example as well. But at the time we use what? Calculus. Okay. Integral calculus to solve the problem, right? Or the theory from differential equations to solve the problem. Yes, for bar problem is easy, but for other problems it's not easy. Okay, this is because bar is the simplest model, right? So we can compare the finite element results versus the exact result. We call it analytical or exact result. Okay, so this is for node 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is the coordinate, right? So this is coordinates on 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to compare the results with the exact. So we see that this is the finite element results at nodes, and then this is also the exact result at the same nodes due to concentrated load P. This is due to distributed axial load small p, and this is due to temperature change. You see, using 4 elements, all the results exact. Okay. So we can conclude that the two noded bar element, the bar element give exact results at the nodes or nodally exact. We call that finite element result is nodally exact for this problem. Okay, for this problem. This at the nodes, but how about outside the nodes? Because we compared here only at this node, right? But outside the nodes, for example, here in the element interior, for example, here or here, whether the displacement still exact, whether the stress still exact or normal still exact, can you guess?
I don't think so.
Yes, not exact. Outside the nodes. Okay, let's see. Using graphs. Okay. Well, actually for these loadings, concentrated load remains exact outside the nodes. Due to the temperature change T, due to this only, the results is exact at all points, not only at the nodes, all points, right? What I mean, all points is including at any point, not only on the nodes, element nodes, okay? But due to axial distributed force P, only exact at the nodes. Outside the nodes, you see, like this one. Yes, almost coincides, but the two graphs, the red one and the black one, the red one is finite element solutions, linear for each element, right? Linear because we assume that the displacement linear for each element. The exact is the black one. You see the difference, right? There is a difference, even though not much, very little difference. It means we have satisfied with using for elements, the result very satisfactory. At the nodes, exact, but outside the nodes, linear. Okay, linear outside the nodes. Because we assume that for each element linear, right? By assumption at the very beginning when we formulate the element. Well, it's good. It's very satisfactory for the displacement. This is the displacement U, right? As a function of the position. Okay. This is one, it means 1 LT. This is in the unit of PLT square over AE. Okay. So this is 0.2 here, for example, it means 0.2 times this multiplied by this one. Okay. A kind of units, right? But unfortunately, how about the normal force? According to the exact solutions, if you notice that the normal force is linear function, it means like this. The normal force distribution, because due to P only, right? Due to actually distributed only. So due to, let's see the problem in the very beginning. Due to this one only, without this one. The normal force for sure in this position is 0, right? But will increase linearly to here. That we can see clearly from this picture. That's the exact solution. Unfortunately, the finite element gives for each element is like this. So it's piecewise constants. This is constant. So finite element gives a piecewise constants. Why? Because the normal force contains the first derivative of U. U is the displacement is linear for each element. So the derivative of linear is, if you have a linear function, the derivative then is a constant, right? So that's why it's constants. because this is linear. However, this is quadratic. The exact solution is quadratic function of x. So the derivative of u, of course, linear. So that's why there is a large discrepancy for the normal force. The finite element solution gives like an average, right? Here, just like an average, constant but average normal force. So if you want to be accurate, the finite element result should be interpreted at the middle nodes, at the mid nodes of the element. So when we read the finite element solution for the normal force, we should think that that's the normal force at the mid nodes of the elements. That's the right interpretation because that exactly matches, right, at the middle of the elements. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 element 1, 2, 3, 4. So okay, finite element, for example, give 0.8, maybe 0.88, but we should interpret that the normal force not at the right end, on the left end, not here because here is larger, but at the middle, at the middle, at the middle, at the middle. Okay. Any questions? That's the accuracy regarding the displacement and stress or normal force. The stress also, I think like this, okay? The same graphs, because normal force just the stress times the multiplied by the area, right? So if you divide this by area, the graphs remain the same. How about the strain energy? We can also compare the exact strain energy. We can compute like U, that the exact strain energy using the formula that integrals of the 1/2 stress times strain, because there is no temperature change. We can compute using integrals, okay? But we can also compute using finite element. That's finite element strain energy. And we find that the finite element strain energy is also not exact, okay? It's lower. Actually, finite element solutions always give lower strain energy than the exact strain energy. So it's kind of the exact strain energy is a kind of upper bound. Upper bound. It means the finite element strain energy is converged from below, right? The exact is here. The finite element solution always below. So the exact is the upper bound strain energy. So in this case, using 4 elements is 1.56% lower than the exact strain energy. Okay. So we can say we can observe some facts from this experiment. Okay. First, the finite element displacement field result is more accurate than stress or normal force field. Okay. We see. Okay. That's general fact, okay? The displacement is always accurate than the stress. Why? If I ask you why, can you give give answer to my question? Because what? Our finite element based on assumed displacement. So, and the first quantity that we computed is the displacement, and then strain and stress. Because of that, displacement is always accurate, more accurate than the stress. Because we compute this first and then we compute this by derivatives, right? The function itself is always more accurate than the derivatives. Furthermore, there is one optimal point in its element at which the stress on normal force is the most accurate. So this is called Barlow's optimal point. That's in the middle of the element. That's the most accurate one for this case, right? So this point is called Barlow optimal point. After Barlow, okay? This is Barlow optimal point. And then we also see the fact that finite element strain is lower than the exact strain. That's always like this for displacement-based finite element. This is we call displacement-based type finite element. Okay, always like this. Not only for bar, for other problem as well. Displacement always more accurate than the stress. There is one point on each element where the stress is most accurate, but normally not at the nodes. Okay, at the nodes is not accurate, but in the interior, the strain energy is lower than the exact one. That's the three facts regarding displacement-based finite elements. Any questions? So we see that I called the previous procedure is standard procedure to obtain the stress resistance. It's not good, right? Not good because not accurate for stress. Luckily, for 1D elements like bar, okay, but this is not applicable to 2D or 3D elements. Later we will discuss 2D. The normal force we can compute exactly, but using a modified, not standard procedure. This is standard that we can do in 1D, 2D, and 3D. But this modified only applicable to 1D, not to 2D or 3D. Okay, the process is like this. Okay. Instead of computing directly the stress or the normal force from the displacement like this, okay, before we compute using this one, right, EBD, using that one, I mean, we have the displacement. We can compute the stress using the formula E, B, D. Sorry, this is D, right? For each element, right? D, nodal displacement only. This is not accurate. But this is standard finite element, okay? So it's possible for 1D element not use this standard procedure, but to use alternative procedure, okay? The alternative procedure is, okay, after we obtain D for each element here, okay, for D for each element, then we proceed to compute just like in the direct stress method. Okay, go back to the direct stress method procedure. What should we do? So we compute this one, right? We go back the displacement from the equation like this. We have these equations for element, right? Element number E. This is FA. This is FB. This is FD. So we go back to this equation, and then we already know this one because we know the state matrix and displacement. We already computed this one. This we know already. So the only unknown is this one. So we compute this one using this formula, right? Okay, D minus this one minus this one. Okay, for each element, and then we can obtain what's this one? This nothing the element and forces. It means for each element, let's say element number E here, we can obtain this one, right? F A1 for element number E. This is FA2 for element number E, for each element, E1, 2, 3, 4. This one. This is the effect of the axial loads at the right end. This is the effect of distributed load. This is the total length LT for each element. Once we know this, of course, we can compute the exact normal force, exact normal force. So this is exact because this is actually normal force, right? Normal force. It means minus, it means to the left, it's to the right, left to the right, exact normal force. So we can see that the exact normal force for the position of this one at the quarter is just take a look at the first element, this one, right? PRT 0.75. Yes, this one. For the first element. For this is at the right, at the position of this one, position of this, and this exact, because we see the exact solution here. the normal force here is 1, but we can see from here, okay, 1. But in the opposite direction, because that's our element 1 is minus, it means to here, okay, here. But we should treat it we should treat that element 1 is tension, okay. This is in tension. So the normal force is 1 actually, because this is this is not normal force, actually FA 1 for element number 1. But the normal force, of course, is equal to minus. That's because of the sign convention. Sorry, this is N, okay. So this is 1, and then for node 2, this one, okay, 0. At node 2, 0. Due to P, this P, 0.75 due to distributed. That's exact, right? We see that this is exact. 75 here, okay. And then at this point, 0.5, 0.25. That's all exact. Okay, any questions? I think this is useful for your homework, to do your homework. Have anyone tried to do the assignment?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet, okay. For example, in your midterm exam problem regarding 2D and 3D trusses, I changed the problem. Suppose one of the bar undergoes temperature change. For example, initially 20 degrees to become 25 degrees. Please compute the displacement, internal force, okay? Can you do it now? The answer is yes. And here is the example, okay? How to do that? Well, so this is application to truss. Now, instead, initially we, for our equation, we have only this one, right? For truss. If there exists some force along the members of the truss, this one, and also there is temperature change, we can just add this one, okay? So a kind of generalization of what we have discussed previously when I talk about direct space method, right? We only have previously this equation, now we have this one and this one. So to solve 2D or 3D truss, what should we do? We should convert this one to for each element, right? This is the remind for each element. But remember, all of these vectors and matrices refer to local coordinate system, okay? Local X for each element. We should convert to, because this is now the local is located in the 2D or 3D situation. So we should convert to global components, global coordinates, global structural components, okay? So to become like this. We need transformation matrix, of course, right, for each element. As you can remember that the transformation, so this is the formula to transform from local to global. So transformation transpose T for the stiffness matrix like this, for the force like this, for the force like this, including this one, of course. But this is we don't need to compute, right? So this is what we need to compute is this one. For each element, so like in your exam have 4 elements or 6 elements before, right? You should compute all using this. Okay, I think this is the same as before, no problem. This is new. Okay, and then assemble as usual. Or recall that this is the transformation matrix for 2D truss. This is for 3D truss. This is the direction cosine, right? Actually, this is also the direction cosine for each bar, or not bar, truss members. Okay, this is for 2D, this is for 3D, so the same formula, using this formula, but depend on the context, whether 2D or 3D. Okay, this is for 2D and 3D. So this is the example. Okay, like this. This is the example that I took from the past exam, the midterm exam on long time ago, maybe before you went to Petra, before, right? Before that, right? So this is a long time ago, 7 years, more than 7 years, 8 years ago, right? 12th April 2013. This is one of the problem like this. We have simple truss, simple 2D truss, consists of 3 elements, or you maybe consists of 2 truss element, 1 spring elements. Okay, this is truss or bar elements, spring elements. This is the given data EA, but this is E to A. So the crustal area of this bar is 2 times larger than this one. This is the spring with this data, right? All have the data. Length is 1 meter. Okay, crustal area is 1 square centimeter or 100 square millimeter. Okay, modulus plasticity of the steel. This is steel. Okay, made from steel. So this is E and alpha for steel. Actually, alpha is the coefficient of thermal expansion, 12 times 10 to the power of -6 per degree Celsius. Okay, this is the coefficient of thermal expansion. Ks is the spring stiffness or spring constant, that 20 kilonewton per millimeter. Okay, 20 kilometer per millimeter. So this is the data. Can you solve this problem? As usual, the question, of course, how about the displacement, spot reaction, and so on? Yes. Okay. So the problem, not yet. What's the loading? The loading is, well, bar element 1 is subjected to uniform temperature rise. So this is maybe due to sunlight. There is an increase in the temperature of this one, okay, due to sunlight. Maybe this is a part of the roof. But bar 2 subjected to temperature drop from the initial condition, from the unstressed condition. Let's say drop 2 degrees Celsius, maybe due to cool air, okay, cool air from air condition, maybe, okay, drop the temperature. But this is hot, okay, this is cooler. This is the spring, remain the same, doesn't affected by temperature. The question is fine as usual. As usual, the standard question for structural analysis: displacement, spot reactions, internal force for each element. That's the first question. The second question is, find the nodal force we need to apply at this node to make the displacement of node 4 0 under the given temperature change. So under this temperature change, I want this remains 0 displacement. So how large and in what direction the force we should apply at node 4? That's the second question, okay? Okay, let's see the answer. Okay, not in here, because after this another example, but in another file here. So this is the answer of the exam long time ago. Okay, problem number 1. Okay, you may choose as usual either what kind of DSM you want to use. Here I choose DSM-P. Okay, DSM-P. No problem. You may choose either DSM-A or DSM-P, but here I use DSM P, because later I will use MATLAB for computing the matrix, right? Well, as usual, 1, 2, 3, okay. Degrees freedom in DSMP goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, very straightforward, okay. 1, 2, up to 7, 8. MCOT, as usual, comment 1, from lowest number to highest number, 1, 2, 7, 8, number 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, number 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? And then I need the data, the length. How about the length of the element? Because this is, we know L, right? L, we know 1 meter or 1000 millimeter, but how about this length? What kind of trigonometric we should use? The tangent, of course, because we know this is 30 degrees. So what is tangent is the length of from 1 to 4 divided by L. That's the definition of tangent, right? But we know this, we can compute this one. So this is L over 3, square root 3, okay? Once we know this, of course, we can compute this using Pythagorean formula. So this is the computation of this matrix I perform in MATLAB actually. So we obtain this matrix for element number 1, 2, and 3. After we performing transpose, right? Because this should be global 4 by 4. Actually, the spring also initially 2 by 2. After I transpose using the T transpose, K, T become like this. This is the details of the MATLAB computation under the MATLAB file. Okay. Can you see the MATLAB screen?
Yes, sir.
So this is the data, right? L, coordinates, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then other data, okay, alpha, temperature, we have to, temperature of element 1, 4, increase, temperature of element 2, -2, decrease. MCOT, total degrees freedom 8, and then how to compute the element? As usual, we need transformation matrix here. We compute this transformation matrix, or we can compute directly like this one, okay? I think no problem. I just want to talk about the spring. How about the spring? The same. We use transformation matrix for the spring, but the spring stiffness matrix given by this in local coordinate system. How to compute the global one? Use this one, right? Transformation matrix for element 3, that's the spring, transpose, stiffness matrix time transformation. Up to this point, any questions? How to compute the stiffness matrix? Use MATLAB, is very convenient. Or if you want to use Excel, it's okay. Easy? Easy, right? Because you have been familiar with truss. Next, what should we do for element number 1 and 2? Because we have temperature increase or decrease there. Well, the degrees freedom, as you know, that 1 up to 6 inactive, it means 0, right? Inactive. The active one is 7, 8, announced, okay, announced. Inactive, it means given already, because this is, we use DSM-P, okay. So later we should separate the inactive and active freedom. At the inactive degrees freedom, well, this is given. This should be announced, right? Announced spot reactions. We can obtain the spot reaction directly, unlike in the DSMA. That's the benefit of this procedure. We can obtain the spot reaction immediately. This is the benefit of DSMP, right? And don't forget, because there is the pressure change, we should compute also. This is new, right? Not yet considered in the previous truss. the equilibrium nodal force due to temperature change that comes from the element. So we should compute for element 1. That's the increase. That is increase. So we use this formula actually for element number 1. The equivalent nodal force due to, let me go back to the previous one. Nah, this one, okay. Number 1, but this is in local coordinate system, right? Local coordinate. We should transform to global. So the key point for 2D thrust or 3D thrust is transformation. We compute first the local here, okay. This is for local, f, small f, it means refer to local components, local coordinates, but for element 1, element 2, the same. You can compute use this formula, right? A, we know for element 1 and 2, E also given, alpha also given. T, how about T? For element number 1, because the temperature increase how many degrees in the problem? 4, right? Let's see the problem. 4, it means plus, positive. So here remains negative because according to the formula it's negative, right? But here negative, the for element number 2 is 2, but the corresponding area is 2 times, so that's remain the same. This is minus because negative. So we substituted minus 2 to the T. Plug in minus 2 to the T. This is for element 2. This is not square. This is element number 1 and 2. Ft, okay. Ft, it means equivalent nodal force due to temperature change, but in local. We should transform it to global. Use this formula, okay? And we have this formula, right? What is transformation? The transformation matrix that we use in this, I just use this formula, okay? Okay, don't worry. T transpose Fp. T transpose Ft, okay? Compute the equivalent nodal force, but we express them because for element 1 and 2, okay, in terms of global components. This is in terms of local components, this is global. So use this one, for element 1 and 2, we get this one. We obtain this one. So we transform from 2 by 2, in the local coordinates we have 2 by 2. Why? Because we use local coordinate system, it means only one, along the bar, along the member. So this is the member like this along the member, okay? And then we transform to global, X and Y, right? So we have 2 components for each, so it becomes 4, okay? From 2 by 2 becomes 4 by 4 because the transformations, okay? This is the due to temperature. And then we assemble as usual using M-code. Using the M-code, we assemble, we obtain what we want. That's this one, right? Any questions? So that's the difference from the previous one. The previous one, I mean, before the mid-semester exam. The thrust we discussed before. We have temperature effect here. So we should compute the equivalent nodal force due to temperature. After that, remain the same, the procedure, okay? I mean, for the SMP, can you remember? What should we do? We should partition the stiffness matrix into active, inactive, and then we solve for the active one, right? For the displacement. Okay, that's we answered the first question actually. The first question is what? The displacement, right? Find the nodal displacement. Okay, already. This is the nodal displacement. But how about other questions? Spot reactions, yes, from the DSM-P is straightforward because we also can solve for this one, right? Reactions immediately, unlike in the DSM-A, Later, we can solve the reaction later, right? But here, immediate. That's, I think, the advantage of the DSMP. Straightforward. But the disadvantage is the stiffness matrix is too large for manual computation. So I use MATLAB here, okay? For the reason that the matrix is too large for manual computation. Of course, if you exam, this is the time when we did this exam. Of course, that's not offline in the classroom. We cannot bring computer, right? So maybe you should choose DSM-A instead of DSM-P without MATLAB. Otherwise, you will take a lot of time to write the stiffness matrix. Even I didn't write here because in MATLAB it's too large. Okay, just for writing takes time. So that's why I think you chose the wrong procedure when you did the mid-semester exam first time. Is it? Because you most of the time you at the time didn't use Excel, but unfortunately you use DSMP. I don't know why. Actually, you can do manual computation, use calculator, just like when offline exam, but please use DSM-A, not P. P is suitable for computer. This is using computer. It's okay. No problem. So we can draw. Don't forget to draw. Most of you lazy to draw to sketch the results, okay? Okay. This is just immediately taken from this data. This is the meaning of degrees freedom 1, right? Positive, it means this one. Negative, it means downward, okay? And so on, okay? You know already. And don't forget to check the equilibrium equations. The equilibrium consists of, in plane, the summation of the force in X direction should be in balance, in Y direction should be in balance, but also don't forget to check the moment. In 3D, most of you didn't answer completely. In 3D, you should check 6. In X, Y, Z, and moment about X, Y, Z, or the moment about axis parallel to that one, okay? Any questions? So you should familiar with the direct test method, because after formulating the finite element, we go back to DSM. That's how the computer works. If you run SAP 2000 for doing your steel structures assignment, designing building, or using ETABS, what inside the ETABS and SAP 2000? That's finite element and direct test method actually. That's what computer do, like this. So, finished or not yet? Not yet, because yes, we can compute the support reactions already. But how about internal force? You know already, right? We should convert from the global displacement to each element. Okay, so internal force we can compute here because we have equation KdFA. We should compute from FA for exact, right? For exact stiffness equation for exact results. We can use this one. Or yes, if there is temperature effect, this procedure is also okay because both give the exact results for temperature effects. Okay, but for distributed force, only this give exact solution. So you can either use this procedure or this procedure, up to you. Okay, this is finite element, standard finite element procedure. This is the one that usually used in the DSM. Okay, for computing stress or normal force, because when we know the stress for the bar, to compute the normal force is just multiplying by the area, right? Up to you. Okay, so either from this or this, we can obtain the results. the details of the computation in MATLAB. Okay, so I just wrote here either use this or this, up to you. This is from finite element formula, BD, right? BD. We have matrix for element 1, 2, 3. So the difference is this one, right? B1, B2, B3 is different. Of course, what is D? D. Okay, so we should get the small d from the big D. Okay, small d from the big D. So this is actually we can also compute. Yes, this is from this one, right? Transformation of the KD. Oh, this is KD is FA, right? FA, KD, if the element is F, capital F, and then we transform to little f, to local coordinate, from global coordinate to local coordinate. Okay, so the bar element number 1, this one, is in the condition of compression. Okay, compression. Number 2 is in tension. Because what? This is actually the temperature increase. This is decrease. Increasing the pressure tends to make the bar in tension, because the bar try to return to the original position, right? So that's why in the condition of compression. Maybe the opposite, right? The opposite of the loadings, because of this increase, and then under compression. But this is under tension. As we can see here, under tension, right? This is under compression. Well, this is because, again, why this should be under compression is correct. Because when the pressure increase, the bar tends to be longer, right? But we prevent here by the joint, and we have some stiffness here. So because we have action to resist the extension of the bar, so the bar in the condition of tension makes sense. Here the temperature decrease, but the spot and this bar together with the spring tend to resist the contraction of the bar. So the bar should be in tension. That makes sense, right? This result makes sense. Okay, that's all. I think all it means answering of these questions. Get maximum point for these questions. Now the second questions. How about the second questions? What should we do to answer this question? Any ideas before we discuss?
Using n and equation.
For finding the force, we should restrain this. We should give a kind of spot in here, so that we can calculate the reaction, and then that's the force. Because this is to make the displacement zero, right? It likes if we have spot here, right? Just like in your exam, the remedy exam, I put the spot, right? And then you can calculate the force there. That's the idea, right? To answer this question. Okay, let's go. Stick to the second one. To make the node 2 doesn't move, we need to balance. Or maybe here I use a different approach. Okay, not to apply the spot, but to apply a force to balance the equivalent nodal force due to the temperature change. Okay, it means initially we have this one, right? Equivalent nodal force. Which one? FT. Here. For active degrees freedom, because this is involving active degrees freedom only. So we just see this. This is equivalent nodal force. Okay. It means equivalent to the effect of temperature, right? Agree? The idea is I can say before you just put spot and then calculate again all things, but here is because I already have this one. It means to make this zero, because this is not singular, right? The matrix is not singular. The only way to make displacement zero is by put this zero. How to make this zero? How to make this zero to become zero? By add with the same values, right? By adding by the same values. So we should apply, in other words, we should apply the force that opposite to this direction. That's to make this zero. When this zero, this becomes zero. That's the idea, right? So the idea behind my answer here is that one. So just apply this one. Force vector at node 4 with the same amount but opposite to this one. 0 to 0.12 at 6, but positive, and this is positive. 0.48, right? That's another, I think this is more straightforward. So this directly answered the question, right? Directly answer the questions. Don't need to compute again. If previously used spot, it's also possible, but we have to compute again. This is using smart way. Smart in terms of time, because we don't have to compute again. Smart, okay, just think about this one. How to make this zero? That's the question, right? Actually. Okay, the only way to make this zero is the right-hand side should be zero. What should we do? We should apply the force. That's the answer the question, right? Find the force that we need to apply, okay, to make the displacement zero under the pressure change. Well, very smart, right? Smart way to answer this question. Without much effort to spend on computation. Any questions?
Sir, for
Yes.
node 4, if we just apply the force opposite of the one that we already calculate, does it really give the displacement zero on node 4? Because I think it might be possible the node 4 still move because of the temperature change.
According to our computation, no, because we see here, when we apply the force opposite to this, the right-hand side, this is the force, the total force becomes what? Zero, right?
Yeah, for the force it becomes zero.
The total force becomes zero, so we counter the temperature effect already. So when this zero is zero, right? The only way is to because this is not singular, not a singular matrix.
Yeah.
Yes, according to algebraic that we learn, the only way to make this zero is make this zero, because this is non-zero. Of course, if this is singular, it's possible that this is non-zero as well. Okay, but this is for sure stable structure. This is the rank of this matrix is 2. Okay, no problem. Okay, please, Miss Angeline, to fill in the what called is the list, right? The attendance list. While I'm taking rest for a moment, about 5 minutes, and then return, we discuss another example, maybe more interesting example that I took also from the mid-semester exam. Actually, the previous exam up to this point. So our lectures is a little bit late this semester because many activities, right, from me. and also maybe because of some holidays, right? So we should move forward faster. Okay, I written. Let's consider, take a look, another example that I took from Mid-semester exam as well, but newer mid-semester exam. So on 15 April 2009, the problem goes like this. Well, we have bar fixed here, and the area is 10 by 10. This is a square cross section. Okay, this is also square cross section 20 by 20. This is 2 meters length. This is 1 meter length. This is the global coordinate system from here, 0 to here. The displacement in the axial direction is U, denoted by U. And then, what's the loading? What's the action? External action. The loadings, axially distributed load. The distribution of the load is sinusoidal given by this formula. So it means that when x0 here, the intensity of the loading is 0. And also when the loading is 3000, because this is 3000, right? X3000 is sinus pi is 0, so this is 0. But the peak or the amplitude of the loading is located at the midpoint, that's 0.02, because this is the location when x equal 1500, it means 1/2 pi radians. 1/2 pi radians is 90 degrees, so it's sinus 90 degrees is 1. So this is the largest intensity of the load. So the distribution of the load is like this, okay? So this is the largest intensity of the load here, located here. It's smaller and smaller. The question is, one of the question, I mean, in that question is, how to calculate. Of course, the overall question, I will not discuss the overall question because that's, again, I think I divide the bar into 3 elements. This is element number 1. Regarding the division of the division of the bar into separate elements, we should here separate, because we have separation of the area, okay? Don't make the elements, for example, like this. Okay, this is, I just divide by 4. 1. Okay, like this. Oh, no, because this is problematic, right? Because we have sudden change of the area. We cannot take this as one element. No, not recommended like this, okay? So we should divide this into 2 elements at this here. If you want, well, we should divide again into become 5 elements maybe. But here I use just 3 elements. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Then what else? Of course, the overall equation maybe, please compute the displacement. This one, support reaction, internal stress, compute the exact solution. That actually the semester exam on this date. Okay. But here we just focus how to compute the equivalent nodal force due to this one for each element. Okay. Equivalent nodal force due to what? This one, of course. So here is the answer. Well, the formula. From the formulation, we know that the general formula to compute the equivalent nodal force due to this distributed axial force, okay, is equal to integrals along the element, okay. So this is along the element length, and transpose, shape function matrix transpose P. Function of local coordinates x, dx. So this is the formula from our finite element formulation, right? From the weak form. After we introduce the assumed displacement function, we get this one. How to apply this formula in this context? That's the main problem, right? We know the shape functions, shape function matrix, okay, we know already, because that's given, right? You can see the previous slides, that's given. But how about the px? This is depend on what element. For element number 1, 2 is different, right? Different px, because this is not global coordinate. That's very important. This is local coordinate, not global. So we have actually local 1 here for element number 1. This is, we have local 2. For element number 2, we have local coordinates. Sorry, not this one, but I mean we have coordinate system, local coordinate system for each element, and difference. These integrals refer to local, not global. That's don't make mistake. I think many students make mistake on this exam. Okay. Just take this. But watch this. This is capital X. It means local refer to global. Okay. Any questions? That's the idea. So we should use this formula but keep in mind, please keep in mind that this formula the shape function refer to not global, but local. So we should use local coordinate system, okay? Otherwise, you will make mistake, okay? So for element 1, okay, element number 1, the equatorial force due to axial distributed force is integration from 0. Let's see the local coordinate system. For element number 1 is this, and this little x coincides with the global x. So no problem, we can just copy this formula, okay? So the shape function is standard, right? From 0 to 1000, 1 minus x over L, the element length is 1000, okay? No problem. The shape function is easy because standard, but please remember, this is local coordinate system. So the loadings, can we copy directly? Yes, because this coordinate is coincides. Okay. But be careful when we calculated the second coordinates. Okay, later. And the third, the coordinates for element number 3, well, the loading for element number 3. Okay. We should be very careful. The problem is how to, a little bit difficult, but the difficulty is in mathematics, not in finite element concept. How to calculate the integrals now. Okay. Well, to make this equation simple, I use substitution method. I choose a new variable. Let's call the variable s. Okay. I define s as this one, x over 1000. Why? Because using this symbol s, I can make this become simple, right? The shape functions. This is just s, this is minus s. But when we change the variable in integrals, don't forget, we should change the differential here, the dx. The relation is just take the differential ds. This is become dx over 1000. So in other words, what is dx? Dx is 1000 ds. So 1000 ds, don't forget. Okay. And also don't forget to change the integrals boundaries. Okay. This is integral boundaries. When x0, so I should write here, when x0, what the s? S also 0, right? So it's no problem, remain 0. But be careful, here is not 1000 because when x equal 1000, I plug in here, s become 1. Okay, so the variable here refer to s, not x, because this is ds. Don't forget. When we can simplify the integrals, but don't forget. And the good things using s variable is this one, okay? Pi over 3000, so it's become, x over 3000 is become what? X 1000 times 1/3, right? So in other words, we can write like this. That's the reason why I choose this variable s to simplify the expression in the integrals. So now it's become, just multiply this one, right? 1 over s sinus pi s by 3. Then 1000, I can, this is constant, I take out here, become 20, right? 0.02 times 1020. This is the matrix integral. The matrix become integrals, does bring it inside the matrix. Okay, So become the two integrals like this. Okay, this for the first row, this for the second row. How to integrate this? That's the problem of calculus. Okay, I mean we can use integration by parts. Integration by parts. Okay, and then we can solve this. That's simple calculus, I think. If you know integration by parts, but if you don't know, I allow you to use calculator to calculate this one. Okay, programmable calculator that have integrals or use MATLAB to compute this integrals. Also available in MATLAB. You can use integral numerically. Okay, we can compute this or use calculus. Integration by parts. Okay, you can also solve this one. No problem. A little bit difficult, but if you have good calculator, no problem, right? You can get the numbers. Here the problem is, okay, for element number 2. Let me clean. Element number 2 is, the coordinate is x2. This is not square, okay? X refer to element 2. This is to this one, okay? So this is not square. Okay. So what's the relationship between global X and local X? Can someone tell me? What the connection between, so if we have a point here, let's say the coordinate is X according to this coordinate, but according to global coordinate is also this one, right? This one. It means the coordinate is, we measure from this origin for the local, but the global one is we measure from here, right? Capital X, right? Capital X. So what the relationship? Can you see? The relation is given by what? Small x is capital X, this length, minus 1000. Don't forget, okay, to use this one. To convert, or in other words, capital X is small x plus 1000. So you should convert this formula to small x by plugging this into this. Okay, so here we go. Element number 2. We have, this is not x squared, x2 is, as I mentioned before, x minus 1000. So we plug this into this one. Okay, so the loadings now expressed not in terms of global, not in terms of capital, but in terms of local. Okay, don't forget. And this is applicable for element 2, of course, from x0 to 1000. Okay, so the shape function remain the same, no problem, no difficulties here. I think remain the same. The integral goes from 0 to 1000. This is n transpose. This is p. Okay, we can spread into, well, pi x by 1000. This is 1/3 pi over 3 dx. So this is the, and then we can convert into s just before, like before, similar. And then this is pi s, this is pi over 3, 1000 ds. And then we can take this out to this. And then this is the result that I get. Okay. So this is the electronodal force for element number 1. After I compute these integrals, and then for element 2, after I complete this integral. So what does it mean? It means during the computations, when I mean computations, I change the sinusoidal distributed load. This is element 1, 2, 3. Here to becomes the nodal force here, right? So the loading is changed to this one, 3.3 something, okay? This become this one, 6.2 to let's to 5, okay? I round it to 5. And then this plus contribution for second element 9, 5, 5. How about this one? We have contribution from this element. How about this element number 3? Because the loading is symmetric, like this, right? The loading is symmetric. We can expect that the equivalent nodal force also the same. So for element number 1 and 3, the same pattern. So if this is 6, it means this also will be 6 because the same, right? The same distribution. 6, 25. And how about this one? Will be 3.30 as well. So actually we don't need to compute the equivalent nodal force for element number 3. Just taking advantage of the symmetric condition. Okay, symmetric condition, because this is symmetric to element number 1. You don't have to compute using the formula. Just copy from condition, just taking symmetry, because this is symmetric to this one, like this, and this should be symmetric, right? So we just need to compute element 1 and element 2. Element 3, I don't think we have to compute it. Any questions? How to compute the equivalent of the force due to distributed force, but the force unfortunately not linear distribution, not parabolic, so we don't have direct formula that we derive already. Here we should use the original formula to compute the equivalent of forces exactly like that. So this is exact computation of the equivalent of the force. But this is not so convenient in practice, of course. So in practice, what we did, what usually people do, if you are using SAP 2000, of course, SAP 2000 don't have sinusoidal, but we can approximate, okay, what force allow in your software. Okay, for example, only quadratic, just like in the software that I created by myself in MATLAB, right? And I give free for you. So you are lucky, right? My software is quite powerful but free, right? For students, because you are my students. If you are not my students, you have to pay, right? Okay. In practice, okay, in my software, I don't have option to input the sinusoidal load. So just approximate it. If we have quadratic, just approximate. Okay, we know the values here 0. Values in here we can compute, right? From this one, or this is the 1000. I put 1000 here. Okay, and then we can compute the sinus, and then we have the value here, and then we compute in the middle. Okay, because for quadratic, so we approximate with quadratic distribution. Okay, and then use the formula that available, or the software that's available, because in my software I allow to input the quadratic. Also, how about in here? The same. We assume that this is quadratic. Okay, if our software allow quadratic. Okay, so we can use the quadratic approximation for each element. Okay. And the error is very small. Okay, you can read in my book the error just less than 1%, right? In my book, I computed using quadratic approximation, use software. Okay, very small error, quite accurate. Isn't so far? Well, that's how we can compute exactly. This is exact because this is exam, right? Of course, in practice, we just approximate it like that, because computation of the integrals in practice is maybe taking times. Okay, and we should remember the formula for shape function as well. Not convenient. Okay. How to check that our computational result is correct? One way to check, the total equivalent nodal force should be equal. This is the key. Okay. The total equivalent nodal force. So if you add all F1, F2, and this F3, the total should be equal to the total force when we integrate them. Okay, I mean we can integrate from 0 to the whole length of the bar, this, right, using the global coordinates. We can compute easily, right, because integral of the sinus is minus cos, and then just the reciprocal of this 3000 pi, and then we compute. I get this one, this number from this integrals. Okay, yeah, use simple calculus, 38.1972 kilonewton. So that's the total force when we integrate the distributed force. This should be equal to the total equivalent nodal force. Element 1, element 2, element 3, right? This is 2 times element 1 because maybe there is symmetric, right? Element 3. So the total should be equal to this total force. I mean this one. This plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this. You can check by yourself, okay? Should be equal to this one. That's just to check. And I check okay. Any questions? Oh, well, that's actually, this is one part of the exam. In the exam, I also asked the exact solution. Actually, what I asked in the exam is the exact solution. The exact solution for this question is like this. Okay, there is a kind of unsmoothness here. This here is not smooth, right? Why? The displacement is not smooth. The exact displacement, I mean, because for the reason that there is a change in the geometric. That's the change in the stiffness, sudden change in the stiffness, not stiffness, I mean, cross-sectional area from 10 by 10 to 20 by 20. So there is a non-smooth displacement field here, okay? There is a kinks, or there is a kind of sharp angles here, okay? The curve is not smooth. But for finite element solution, as usual, for each element is linear, okay? And it's exact at the nodes, Even though this is not accurate, right? The displacement inside here is not accurate. See, you see, the finite element displacement, for example, at the middle here. This, according to finite element, is 0.4 millimeter, but exact is more than 0.5. It's not accurate, but of course, it's exact at the nodes. How about the stress? This is the stress. This is the exact. Okay, there is a jump, stress jump here. It's reasonable because there is a jump in the cross-sectional area. Okay, so here for element 1 and 2, this is for element number 3. There is stress jump, but finite element solution again gives piecewise constants. 1, 2, 3. Piecewise constants. Here there is a jump, right? Because constants, this is just a kind of a phrase for this element, this one, and this is the phrase for this one, right? Like a phrase for this one. This is like a phrase for this one. And the most accurate one, again, in the middle, right? Yes, this is not exact, but here a little bit far, but in the middle is reasonably accurate. This is exact at the middle. This is almost at the middle exact. So usually people interpret the stress one. Let's say the stress is 100 more than 100 little bit is at the middle, okay? Here at the position 500. Okay, that's the interpretation of stress. How about the normal force? The normal force is like this. Okay, interesting. Smooth, right? Smooth distribution for the exact, but unsmooth distribution or piecewise constants. Normal force. The most accurate around the middle, right? Okay, that's regarding finite element and exact solutions. Well, the details you can see in my book. This is I took from exam 3 years ago, right? 2009. Yes, 3 years ago. Lucky that you don't have to do this problem. It's quite difficult, right? Agree? Okay, that's all for today lecture. If you have any questions,